a little and cut this part, please, because it's.
Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass, and this is my co-host Cassandra.
Hello.
There they are. And today we're going to talk about dueling. I challenge you to a duel, Cassandra, and banish your ass back to the Shadow Realm where you belong.
Well, I am on top of a dinosaur, so I will simply decline.
Fuck.
And that is dueling in our local meta in a nutshell.
Yeah, okay, and we're done.
Play in one act.
We can wrap it up. just say no. They can't duel you.
Yeah.
You say no. You can't consent to duels.
Yeah, I don't think so. So many duels that it almost seems like an optional part of the game for me.
There's a couple times where people are trying to like entrap me into duels, or like, I'm gonna challenge you to duel, and like and it's like I just decline. It's like, oh, you're broken now, and I'm like, I draw my next card, it's the character I rally. Oh, I draw my next card, it's Steel Legion, they have bravery and automatically rally, and they're like, fuck.
Yeah, people forget you in what army, and I have a lot of situations where they're like, well, I want to duel you, and I'm like, okay, no, and they're like, well, now you're broken, and I'm like, well, actually, I'm not.
I draw.
But, cool.
I play Pot of Greed. It allows me to draw 2 cards. Oh, we're gonna get a ton of these jokes. I hope you understand that.
What the hell? You just I just clicked over by accident to our Discord, and somebody is talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Just as you made that joke.
Fucking really? Where? Which one?
The general channel.
Oh, it says 61 new messages because I've been watching JoJo. Oh my god! Yep, there's the owl or the crocodile playing arcade. It's a raptor playing arcade. This is. Oh my god! It's Weevil from like season 1. I'm gonna reply to this. Everyone can hear me type.
Podcasting at its finest. This is, I think, our peak moment as content creators, is making everyone listen while we quietly perceive Discord.
I had the eShop open to our next bit.
I did have all the right stuff open, I just clicked in the wrong place.
Oh, people are liking it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, I guess we're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Now.
Yeah. Did you even play Yu-Gi-Oh?
No, I tried once with a mobile phone game version of Yu-Gi-Oh! I was like, well, maybe I'll like it. I didn't. I didn't like it so much I barely remember it. Wow. So, if you like it, I don't want to say that it's bad. If you like Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not saying that it sucks. I'm just saying it wasn't for me.
That's fair. What did I do? I started in grade 1. Playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Holy shit.
Yeah, I played it. We would play it during recess in like the gravel ass rocks by the play structure, like underneath. We'd all gather around. We played it with like I think so when I played it, the Kaiba and Yugi original decks were out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember my mom bought the neighbor's van. She needed a new car after wrecking her old one. And she's like, well, I got the new van. It's like, oh, sweet. I'm like 7. She's like, you want to drive around with it? I'm like, sure, let's go to the mall. I went to the mall and there was a Target, but don't exist anymore. And, well, actually it was a Zellers. Yeah, it was a Zeller.
Which also doesn't exist anymore.
No, they don't exist anymore. And
for our American friends, Target does still exist, but not in Canada.
Yeah.
It came here, and then it was very mismanaged, and it folded immediately. And technically, there's a corporate chain of ownership where Target bought Zellers as a foothold into the country, which is all things that I find fascinating, but are far beyond the scope of this podcast.
Yeah, it's very strange about this, like, brick and mortar store, like the history of it and what the fuck was going on. But yeah, I bought the Pegasus deck where you got the tune cards, and that was like my first Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and then I kind of played that until I was about 12, I believe. Yeah, and then I think I spent like birthday money or something on Yu-Gi-Oh booster packs, and my dad was expecting me to put it in the bank for savings, and it was like $60. I'm 12. Like I don't really understand money. Well, maybe some people should understand money by this point, but it's like I never really got like a huge amount of money when I was a kid, so it's kind of like, oh. And then he kind of yelled at me, and then I stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh after that. That was my end.
Well, that's how these things go, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, a bunch of folks on one of my Discords are pretty into, like, way more into Yu-Gi-Oh than I ever would have imagined in this day and age, which, you know, God bless them, more power to them, but it just surprised me.
I got into Magic, I want to say, in, like, grade 11. I was at Comic-Con, they were giving out free 30-card decks, and we, like, a bunch of my buddies and I, we always, like, we picked a different color, then we played, and then the weapons war began as we went and bought new cards that were better than our friends' cards to win games.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of fond memories of being into Magic as a preteen. I got into it, I think, when Unlimited was out. So, like, either Unlimited or 4th edition, unless they're the same thing. I don't really remember.
Unlimited is a format. 4th edition is a card set, I believe.
No, there was a set called Unlimited too. Like, it was Alpha, Beta, Limited, Unlimited, and then they went into numbers. This was, so I started playing when I was 11, which was like in the 90s. So, but I remember getting Force of Nature, which was a really hot card at that point in time, and then it later suffered an ignominious end, not even by my own hand, which is the worst part, but such is life. I had a bunch of like Black Border Legends cards that I'd accumulated from when I was a kid, and then when I started a job in my early 20s, I was like, well, how much time is Magic going to be around for? I sold like all those cards for almost nothing to one of my coworkers.
Are they worth money now?
Oh yeah, there's a couple times that I've just cashed out my entire Magic collection through my life, and if I had not done it through all those times, like, I would probably be able to just liquidate everything and probably like buy a Warhammer army or something.
Liquidate. So my dad has a friend who he got married, and he's like, well, I guess we got to buy a house now, and his now new wife was like, what? Like, what do you mean you're gonna buy a house? He's like, yeah, hold on, and he goes and he grabs a binder, and he like pulls out 3 Magic cards from Alpha, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna sell these really quick, and we'll have money to go buy a house.
Yeah,
it's like, ridiculous. What the fuck?
This guy that I don't like just found in like a garbage or something, like just in the, like, discarded, essentially, a binder that had beta dual lands in it.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, fuck you, man.
Those are worth money.
I know you don't listen to this, and we don't really know each other at this point. You can go eat shit for that one, pal.
This is immediately devolved into, let's talk about card games that involve dueling.
Yeah. Yeah, and airing our grievances towards people who might not even be real.
Yeah.
People who I'm giving no identifying details about whatsoever.
Fuck you, high school friend who played White Angels, and I played Red and was terrible with Magic, so I got the shit kicked out of me every time. That deck was oppressive, and I hate you. Yeah, no, I don't hate him. I hated his deck, that's for sure.
Well, hate the deck, hate the player, you know.
Yeah.
That's how it is in my hood.
What was the line? Oh, you're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck? I was like Seto Kaiba to Joey from Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal.
He bodied that kid.
Seto Kaiba was like the Vegeta of the Yu-Gi-Oh! World. Also, he was filthy rich, just like Vegeta, but he didn't marry into it.
So he's even worse about it.
Yeah. Although he did he did take care of his little brother and made sure that guy was well fed and saved him every time he got kidnapped.
Well, you know.
I
guess everybody has their moments.
Yeah, it's what big brothers are for. Saving you when you get kidnapped.
That's true.
And has to play a children's card game to determine the fate of the world.
Yeah, I have no siblings, and that's why I keep getting kidnapped and press ganged into working in garment factories across the world.
Is that how you got on this podcast? I kidnapped you and press ganged you in?
Yeah. Yeah, I got really drunk one night, and then I woke up on a ship, and You just had to start making a podcast.
Yeah, it's like you pay your wages in podcast and you get your bowl of rice.
Yeah, it's either make the podcast or shovel dogs into the furnace. So
Man,
I chose.
You were really looking at the dog shoveling job. You're like, I could totally burn these puppies.
I don't know that I could. I'm gonna upset myself just thinking about the possibility.
Okay, let's not burn dogs. They're adorable.
That's the spirit. So I was just looking at the eShop as it happens.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they still have the Jolly and Mean guys up. What's your take? Did we talk about those?
I don't think so. I know it's like a Theist priest and a biomancer for spires. And they're part of the narrative, I think, First Blood scenario. I don't, because we don't really play First Blood. I know people have bought them and built them and painted them, what's nice, but they're just alternative models. I don't mind that they exist. They're a little not Christmassy enough for me.
Huh.
So
see, they're ironically too Christmassy for me.
Okay, I'll explain why they're not Christmassy enough. Because the Theist priest kind of looks like a Konungur who also looks like a Russian czar.
Okay.
And then the green thing looks weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Like they do make sense if they're like if you were in, I want to say, like 1800s and you were a Russian czar and that was Rasputin. Well, actually Rasputin was during like around World War One. Yeah, they killed him in World War One, but he would have been a little before that as well. Anyway, in that time period, this would look good. You got your red winter coat and everything, and I think that fit. Like more modern Christmas, what I kind of imagine. I'm like, nah, just whatever. It just looks like a Russian czar and some weird green monster are dressed up in like red clothes, and it's wintertime.
Yeah.
So
No,
why are they
fair.
too Christmassy for you?
Well, it's because they're Christmassy at all, you see. Like so as you know, and I think anyone who is a devoted listener to this podcast at this point knows that I love the video game Fortnite. And
yes.
They have in Fortnite they have this character, if you can even call him that, called Jonesy, who's just like plainest looking white guy you ever did see. But I guess he's ostensibly one of the main characters of the story of Fortnite, which if you weren't aware that there is one, there is. But he's just very forgettable. So I've thought it's funny to collect skins of him specifically. But the dilemma is there are Christmas ones, but like, here's the thing. A Halloween outfit you can kind of, or themed skin or themed anything, you can kind of get away with year round because Halloween is just fun.
Yeah.
But I feel like a Christmas skin or Christmas guys or whatever, like you're in it. Like you can really only do that around the holidays, or else it's weird, or else you're a Christmas weirdo. And I am no Christmas weirdo.
No, you are not a Christmas weirdo. So here's the thing. If I maybe enjoyed Christmas more, I would probably buy them and paint them up and then use them as my Theist Priest and Biomancer and have them around as alternative sculpts. I do like that about them. Like if people want some diversities or different skins for these guys, they're right there. Just go get them. It's $30. Oh, also I found out that our prices aren't American, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that.
So this is $30 American. So yeah, I don't mind them. If I saw my opponent play with them, I wouldn't really care. I myself would probably not get them. If I was to get them, it'd be more like a gift from somebody, but yeah. I wouldn't go to my way to buy them. But other people like them and bought them, so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, broadly speaking, I like the PB is doing this, but it's
I do like there's alternative sculpts to characters. I don't mind that. Like you have your base guys, and then it gets into a bit of like, hey, this is a Theist Priest. Hey, there's like Santa Theist Priest and Halloween Theist Priest and Easter Rabbit Theist Priest and Summertime Madness Theist Priest, and there's like Beach Time Chapter Mage. Because of course I'm gonna go there. Everyone's looking at the Goth Chapter Mage. Still need to paint her. I'm gonna leave the silence in, by the way.
Sorry, I was just trying to think about how to
transition that.
How to respond to Goth Theist Priest in a way that wasn't going to have to get edited out of the podcast.
I'm leaving this in. Don't you worry. Goth Theist Priest, Goth Noble Lord. Why can't I have an army of Goths? Visigoths, not actual like Goths who work at IHOP.
I'll take either, but
yeah, I take both.
I think you know which my preference is.
The Visigoths because they're wearing high vis vests.
Yeah, I'm pretty into that.
This is like 3 layers deep of memes I'm doing to you that no one else is gonna understand.
It's fine. That's where I do my best work. Is just where
just
nobody understands what I'm saying and everybody is faintly uncomfortable.
Should we talk about the 5th anniversary Spires Abomination? This
yeah.
This creation.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, you go first.
You want my opinions first on this creature?
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I like that it's just way weirder than the original Abomination. Like the original Abomination was weird and everything. This one they just took that weirdness dial and like cranked it a couple more notches. Like it still keeps the original. Yeah, that's an abomination, but also like its feet are more like they're spikes and it has like these weird 2 back talons and its little tiny arm. Well, it's not tiny arms, but like proportionally sized human arms on its weird spider talon feet and back talons, and it has a whole big headdress, but doesn't make it look like it has 2 boobs on its head. Never mind. I looked a little closer. Ooh, we're not saying that one.
Yeah, I mean, no, they traded that for something else. It looks like
it looks like something else. God damn it!
You can't like when you're doing body horror though. Like you kind of gotta go in that direction, or else what's the point? You know?
You gotta. It was it H.G. Geiger. I think it's
Geiger. Yeah, Geiger. Well, I mean, so my whole life I've pronounced it Geiger, but I guess technically it's Geiger. But
I'm gonna go with Geiger.
No matter how you pronounce it,
yeah,
the biomechanics are the same.
Also, I don't know if you've rotated the model. It has a stinger on its bug butt.
Nice. That makes sense. I mean, it's like an ant, right?
Yeah, that is a very violent stinger. Like that reminds me something out of Starship Trooper when they went and battled the brain bug.
Well, I was looking, actually, I saw a GIF that demonstrated how an ant bite works mechanically, or its sting. And I guess it bites you with its claws to get a hold of you, and then it once it's got a grip, it gets the tail in there with the stinger, and that's what sucks. So, this, broadly speaking, I think this does a lot of things right. Like, I wouldn't get another Abomination, but I don't play the Spires, so I don't even have that first Abomination, but I did build one, and it stunk. Not to be outright rude to TV, but I think everybody has the same opinion of the Abomination kit, which was it allowed for an astonishing amount of posability at the cost of being a buildable kit.
I'm like looking at more detail and has weird ass plugs on its legs and hands.
Yeah, so I wanted to comment on that too, because that's like you can see that actually on the big Nord guy who's sitting on the pile of Steel Legion bodies.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So it's good that they are bringing that and making that more like they're with more of their newer stuff. They're kind of pulling together a more cohesive design language overall, and that is good to see.
You can tell this thing is grown in a vat.
Yeah, like everything. So everything before, like lore wise, felt very distinct. Looking at it, you didn't necessarily see all of the character immediately. Like it didn't always pop out on all the models. But then when you see them redo ones like this one, or some of the newer molds where you see a lot like the plugs and the more well-developed sort of sculpt, and it's just it's out of all the models. So out of all the models that needed to be brought forward and get re-sculpted, the Abomination and the Mountain Jotnar were the two.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've done that.
Yeah. Also, it's like your big centerpiece models. So like this is what everyone's gonna see, and this is very striking. And if I was a guy, like if I was a Steel Legion and I had to go fight one of these, if I saw the regular Abomination, I'd be like, oh, it's a Tuesday. If I saw this fucking thing coming at me, I'd be like, oh, what the hell?
Can I say something without everybody getting mad?
No, but you can say it anyway.
So looking at the old Abomination versus this one is like looking at like a 90s GW sculpt versus like a modern GW sculpt.
Yeah, it only took him 5 years.
Yeah, so I don't know. All in all, I mean, I've definitely damned them with faint praise, but good job, PB.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's gross. It's weird. It really does. The Abomination inspires well, and
yeah, it does. It does what the original model should have done better. I feel like.
yeah. Well, now the next question is when people finally get in their hands, does it build well?
Yeah, usually the resin stuff is pretty straightforward. So I imagine
this is
will be
resin?
decent. I think one monster resin miniature.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, GW resin is pretty like they do deserve the praise that they get for it. It's usually
PB
well
resin,
cast
right?
and it,
Okay.
puts together easy enough. I've got that Lady Jarl that I've dry fit and everything looks like it's.
Oh, you got the Arson series female Jarl?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
That's part of the reason why I wanted to start doing Nords again. Actually,
I don't. Well, they would be the best ones to do the full Goth army.
Yeah, that's true.
Sweet. What else we got in here? We got the. I'm gonna fuck up this name, but the Epacocros.
Parkos, I think. I don't know. I'm probably wrong too. That's what I would have said.
Yeah, this is the character for the companion cav. Also, the companion cav are coming out. He's got like a I don't know what you call this, like a yaying horse. Like it's on its two back legs and it's kind of kicking with its two front and like rising up. It's called something. I know that.
Yeah, rearing up.
Yeah, you know what? It is rearing. Thank you. You know what? He looks pretty good. Is this a resin model? Let me just check.
It's a good pose.
Yep.
Like it'll fit well with a unit of companion cav in terms of like making the unit look more dynamic. But without the problem that you have that I am personally finding with running blocks of Thunder Riders is you have two guys that are rearing up like that, and at that point you start to notice the repetition. Whereas if they're more, I don't know,
regular
more running-y,
four legs on the ground.
Yeah, then that I'm less apt to see or to pay specific notice to that repetition.
Mm-hmm.
It's unavoidable with these games, but I think having the leader in that pose makes him a little more noticeable, or the character unit. I need to say.
So something I've not really had to deal with, but like stuff I have to point out whenever I play opponents that I have my household knights is a lot of people ask me who my noble lord is because the noble lord horse blends in super well with the other household knights, and I painted him slightly differently, like he's covered in more neon green compared to the rest of them. But my tourney champion is like completely a different color from everyone else. Everyone thinks the tourney champion is the noble lord.
That's funny.
So yeah, it's kind of funny, but the noble lord does a horse rearing like that, but not as aggressive. Like it's more lower and kind of more arced, like the marigold lion, I want to say, but that's more like the lion roar. But if that thing was arcing, that's kind of what I would imagine it as.
That's fair.
Yeah. Companion cab, they kind of look good. Look like Greek gods.
Yeah, I think they're
horses.
cool looking.
Yeah.
I like cavalry though. Like anytime it's a person and a horse, or a horse-like animal, or a motorcycle, or anything of the jet bike, hover bike, anything of that nature, I'm in. So I think these guys are cool enough. I don't remember what they're like in game. Are they good?
No. So I'm not gonna say a blatant no, but you can kind of tell they need a little bit of an upgrade. I believe they are. I think they're medium cav off the top of my head. They're like Clash 2. They have Dread for some reason, but they're not very high defense because like there's no armor on those horses. Like they're not medieval knights like the 100 Kingdoms cav. They're more like their whole stick is that they're the nobility of city-states, and they kind of ride around on horses to just harass people. So here we go. They are speed 8, nice. They're medium, Clash 2, 6 attacks, 4 wounds, 3 resolve, defense 2, evasion 1. Like D2 D2 resolve 3, 4 wounds even with evasion 1. Like that's a kill me stat. line. They are pretty quick. They got Dread and Impact 2, but they are Clash 2, so that Impact 2 isn't really doing much. They have a leader, and they get 50 points for extra stand for 160. Like, their whole thing is they're a cavalry. They're supposed to represent Alexander the Great's cavalry, and the Greeks didn't have a whole ton, and he kind of used them as, like, flank harassers to, like, get up there and kind of be in the side and everything and, like, attack archers and stuff. So that's kind of like their lore, and that historical lore transforms into in-game lore from what I've talked to, like, Leandros with, or what I've heard from Leandros and whenever he talks about them. So they're kind of designed is to go after lights and archers kind of thing. And I think they would do that actually pretty well for their stat line, but I think they're maybe a little overcost, so that's their actual goal. Maybe they need a little more, because if you put this into, like, I want to say, like, men-at-arms, you kind of bounce off the men-at-arms, and we all know that if a cavalry isn't charging, they're dead. Or if the cavalry isn't moving, they're dead. It's kind of the thing. So
yeah. Oh, sorry, I muted the wrong thing when I coughed there.
That's okay. Yeah, they're in a really, like, weird spot.
Yeah. It almost seems like, fuck, I don't even know. That Clash 2, I think, is what kills them. Like, that makes them pretty.
Yeah. Do
you
want
tough? Because 6 attacks is anyway. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, 6 attacks is good, but we can talk about, like, a much better medium cavalry if we want to compare and contrast.
Yeah.
Order of the Sealed Temple, or as their kind of box cover art. I think I took a picture of it and shoved it into the Conquest International Discord. It said Order of the Shield. It's like, what happened here, guys? Order of the Sealed Temple. I like these guys. They look like bitchin' ass, like, Crusader Knights on their horses. Like, if I was a white magic player, this is totally what I'd see if I played an all night deck.
Yeah, they definitely are good looking models.
Yeah. These guys are.
Oh, those are the fluid guys. Yeah, that's sick. They're a lot. I feel like I played. Somebody proxied them. Was it you that I played?
Probably.
It was brutal.
Or Colin. We
Yeah,
can use his
Colin.
human name now that he's been on the podcast.
That's true. Just one of the people that we play.
Yeah, so
Conquest with.
This Order of Sealed Temple are 8 movement, Clash 3, 4 attacks, 4 wounds, Resolve 4, Defense 3 with a shield, going up to basically Defense 4, no evasion. Same speed, higher Clash. They have 4 impacts each, while the Companion Cat have 2, so they're getting more out of their impacts and having a higher Clash. They got Fluid Formation. They have less attacks, but they're also going to be inspiring to 4, so they're going to end up hitting more. They're more defensive with that higher defense. So they're just better overall, I find. Additional stands are 70 points. Companion Cabs is 50, okay, but also current Order of the Sealed Temple are not released yet, so their point cost for all this is 170. I wouldn't be surprised if that got changed around, to be honest, or like...
Yeah.
There's been calls for, like, the Ashen Dawn nerf, because people are like, the Ashen Dawn are too strong, and it's like, I don't know, there's games I've played where people kill Ashen Dawn. I still win, but I've had games where all my Ashen Dawn got murdered. I've had games where
Ashen Dawn are tough, but I don't think that they're necessarily, like, they might need a little bit of adjustment, but I don't think they're really too out of line.
Like, the thing about them is that I rather see Wedge so with Ashen Dawn, I would like Wedge removed. If you're asking for my nerf opinions on them, Wedge doesn't need to be on Ashen Dawn. Like, that's not their job. Their job is to be a brawly cav, gets into the fight, sets that line of engagement, gets into a fight. Cleave one's fine. Wedging to 2, if you get that charge off, is just you're getting your cake and eating it too, and it's kind of brutal.
That I would say is, like, I think that is probably enough of a change, because otherwise, like, it's sort of the Thunder Riders thing where they're a very good pack of stats, but, like, they're costed for that and they have a role, so it's like every army does actually deserve to get a couple good units that are just
Mhm.
good, that you just want to run. Like, not everything has to be a weird,
Everything has to be Clash 2.
yeah, you don't have
Everything's
to be
dying too
punished
fast.
for
Yeah.
everything that you run. So it's not bad to have units that are just reliably good without a lot of like effort or planning. That's part of the deal. But I think Wedge does put them a little bit over the edge. I would say that Order of the Sealed Temple are quite a bit more oppressive actually than Ashen Dawn when at the end of the day.
So here's the thing, like with this combo, because you can't think about Ashen Dawn in a vacuum. You have to think about what's their mainstay unlock. Because if you're taking orders, you're taking Ashen Dawn. What order are you taking to unlock Ashen Dawn? And the current ones you got are Sword, Sealed Temple, and Crimson Tower.
Yeah.
Crimson Tower are too expensive for what they're doing. They don't output enough to justify their cost.
Yeah.
They're the same survivability as Household Knights, and they're not fast enough to do to get there and hit someone for an alpha. They need the support. So Crimson Tower and Ashen Dawn actually work really well if you send Ashen Dawn first, set that line of engagement, have Crimson Tower come on later, hammer into Ashen Dawn because you know Ashen Dawn aren't going to die anytime soon. That's why that combo works. Really good. However, you now have 2 to 4 heavies in your list, and trying to get flank out on anything else is really terrible. So for a list design, if you play it over and over again, it gets kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're going to look at medium. So you got Order of the Sword and you got Order of Sealed Temple. Order of Sword is kind of a better version of, I want to say like Household Guard, weirdly enough. They're more defensive because they're like Evasion 2. They have a higher wound count. They sit in this weird, like, they're kind of becoming like the Jack of all trades infantry. Like, Order seems to be like an elite Jack of all trades stuff. Like, because like whenever I talk about Order of Sealed Temple, it is very much this is your Jack of all trades cav. They kind of cover everything. They're not going to do super well with anything, but the big thing they do is unlock Ashen Dawn at a good price range and get you a very usable unit that you want with a medium. So
yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if people took Order of the Sword for Ashen Dawn or Sealed Temple for Ashen Dawn. Fluid's really powerful. All that movement shenanigans you can get out of Fluid. All like just reforming to make yourself smaller or bigger and then charging someone, or rotating yourself to get extra distance on the charge. Like, there's so much crap you can do with Fluid, which is actually really surprising. And it's really up there for the best rule in the game. Like it's very much a battle between Blessed and Fluid Formation of who is the king of the number one rule in the game.
Yeah, well, I mean number 2 after Inspired, am I right?
So what? So it's like Blessed is number 1, then Inspired, then Fluid. But if it's the other way around, it's Fluid, Inspired, Blessed. It's so good. Oh, you funny bastard. Okay, that's really good. But yeah, it's there's been talks about an Ashen Dawn nerf. Like everyone kind of knows that it's on its way. What it will be, I'm not 100% sure. It like, would I love for Sealed Temple to stay at 170 like it says in the app? Oh yeah, easy. Like they used to be like 140 and then they got updated to 170, and there's a couple people I've talked to are like, yeah, 170 is still too cheap for this fucking unit. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't make it Crimson Tower, so we know it's going to be less than 200.
I mean, Order of the Sealed Temple essentially are better Raptors for less.
Yeah, but they're not light. Well, even that, I don't even give a shit about lights. It's like a good medium.
Yeah,
I have Merc crossbows. What the fuck do I care?
Yeah, I would rather have a scoring cav than...
Yeah. Like, that's... Like, they have... Like, if there's something I would want buffed on Order of Sealed Temple, put Wedge on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if they got everything they currently got and someone said, hey, you gotta buff these guys, I'd put Wedge on them. Easy. Move the Wedge from Ashen Dawn to Sealed Temple.
Yeah.
But now I'm having my cake and eating it too for Sealed Temple. Another nerf for Ashen Dawn that's been like thrown around by the community is reduce Resolve 5 to Resolve 4. Yeah, okay, not terrible, because like a lot of the time people will finally do wounds to Ashen Dawn, throw all the blasts, and then it's like, you're Resolve 5, and you just roll your dice, and it's like, there's 5 and less. Like, good.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it is pretty brutal. So,
I mean, even just two, like that could just go down by one, and I think it would still
yeah,
it'd
like,
still be very resilient, but you'd at least feel like you have the resolve angle to
do some damage.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I know they're supposed to, like, their lore is like they are the, like, this is the pinnacle of mankind, is these pyramid head creatures that are running around.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I wouldn't really say like give a point increase to Ashen Dawn, as they are 240 for an MSU of 3, but I could say you could easily just get rid of Wedge, like, right off the top of my head. It was not needed when they got it, and it's still not needed now.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Okay. The last thing I have to talk about on the e-store for everybody is that there is Army Support Pack Wave 5 is out for all the armies. Let's see here. Spires, 100k, Dweg. I don't know what the fuck that one is. That one looks like Wadroon. Nope, that one's Wadroon. So this one's Nords, Old D, and City States. So new cards for everybody. New spells, new tokens. I think I'll just click on one of these and just see if anything interesting comes up.
You get the First Blood incantations.
Oh, yeah. Scenario cards. You get 12 Last Argument Kings and First Blood scenario cards. Those are kind of nice.
Yeah.
Objective cards. Are those like the secondary objectives that you can play with if you want to?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay. Yeah, new cards. It looks like they have full art? Or no, are those spells? They might be the spells.
Yeah.
Yeah,
those are the spells, and then they've got the actual character cards that are just normal.
Okay.
Or the regiment cards.
Yeah. But that's what's kind of coming down the pipe on the e-store for anybody. This will probably... I want to say, when is this going to go out? Let me just check. This will be out on the 12th. So I know on the 11th, Parabellum is doing a happy hour, so this will be out before then. Or no, yes, after it, but we're talking about it before. So yeah, you won't know our happy hour news until we record that one or something after that. What else? Yeah, that's about it. There's a Worlds thing going on, so I was trying to find information about this because I haven't really gotten a whole ton, and Parabellum is doing like a Worlds. There's going to be some events for big tournaments that are going to get you like points, so you can get to, you can collect your points. Whoever has a bunch of points can go into Worlds. Worlds is going to be hosted in Greece. They talked about this on their last happy hour. Hopefully more information about that comes out on the 11th. So if you're hearing this, that happy hour's come out, and hopefully they've talked about it. That's kind of really it off the top of my head for Parabellum news. If there is, if any Parabellum staffers are listening to this, just put a comment in, go onto YouTube, find this thing, because I also put these up on YouTube. Put a comment in there and just say, yeah, we talked about it, just so that I know, even though I'll probably listen to it, like the happy hour.
Yeah.
No. That's about it. You want to do our rule of the week?
Yes.
Would you like to read it?
Yes. Just a moment.
Okay.
I was on the wrong thing. So we did Quicksilver Strikes. And that's relevant to this episode, which of course is about duels. So yeah, the thing about Quicksilver Strikes, where the hell did this go? What the
It's on page 100.
Page 100?
Yeah, I know. We're getting near the end because it's a 112-page document.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So the long and short of it is, a character stand with this special rule resolves all of its attacks first during a duel action. If both character stands in the duel action have this special rule, the attacks are resolved simultaneously.
So, when you duel somebody, you either do or do not have Quicksilver Strike. And whoever has Quicksilver Strike tends to win the duels.
Yep.
And if you don't have Quicksilver Strike, you tend to lose the duels because you're just getting front loaded with damage before you can either kind of like do that Dragon Ball Z, like where Vegeta and Goku hit each other at the same time and then like get pushed away because they're like the same amount of power and like do spins and stuff. I think there was a better one on like Team 4-Star where Piccolo is fighting Android 17 and they literally are just doing like gun punches back and forth, and then they do a duel, like the same time hit, a simultaneous hit, and they just like go like away from each other. I could probably find that clip and send that to you, but it's kind of just a Quicksilver Strike.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's it's a weird rule because if you have it, then the other person has to have it. But if nobody has it, then if you take it, you'll be at a huge, like, you'll win every duel. But if you have it and they don't, they're probably just not going to duel you. So I don't know. It's and of course anything that you'd be bullying with a duel in the first place, Quicksilver Strikes isn't going to make a big difference. It just probably precludes you taking the one damage that was going to get through because the wizard tried to slap at you before you got turned into mush.
Yeah. There have been times where I've had like, what was it? I think it was like an Imperial officer fight like a tempered sorcerer or something, just for like the shits and giggles of could I get it off? Like, could I kill the tempered sorcerer in a fucking duel? Yeah. And we basically just like did 2 or 3 damage to each other, and that was it. It was like, sweet, no one died.
Yeah. It's
quick, like I know Quicksilver Strike shows up on a couple things. Like I know the Mimic Assassin has it, and I've had the Mimic Assassin like charge me, declare a duel, cut out my Imperial officer, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I crushed the regiment the Mimic Assassin was in, and I was like, all right.
Yeah. Most armies have an artifact that'll confer it, like
yeah.
So
I know
you can tech into it, but either you need to or you don't. It's weird. Like, I don't know how to explain it necessarily.
Yeah, it lets you duel first. You have first strike for Magic the Gathering. It's really all it does. And then if you don't kill your opponent, they're going to hit you. And if they kill you, well, cool. If they didn't kill you, well, you get to duel them again next turn, and hopefully maybe you'll kill them. But, like, should we, on page 75, it's like one page. It's not even one page. Oh my god, this is not very long. It's more diagrams than actual ruling. On page 75, there's duels. Mm-hmm. I want to read out the duels verbatim, and then we'll just talk about it and give our opinions, because there's a bunch I gotta say about dueling, and kind of what brings, I guess, my argument of why I don't duel, or rarely duel anymore, together. And that's mostly, for you as the listener, you kind of have to, if you're like, oh, we're talking about duels. Well, we're going to read out duels. You know about Quick Strike, you know about the duels, and then we're going to talk about all the little nitty stuff and kind of make the argument of, as you kind of guessed at the very start of this episode, of us joking around of denying duels. Yeah. So, duel combat action. This is under character action, so your character has a couple actions they can do. They can spellcast, they can duel, they can rally. If you're looking for the rally action, it's under resolve. It's in a weird spot. You can seek new escort, and those are kind of the actions you can do. So, for dueling. Just gotta clear myself out there and get ready for this. To resolve a duel action, choose an enemy character stand in an enemy regiment in contact with the regiment your character stand is attached to. So, you just need both regiments to touch each other. Character stands do not need to touch each other. The character stand does not need to be in contact with your character stand. Hey, sweet, it does it for me. We assume that voices travel a long enough way, and so do bloodthirsty bandits in the swirling melee. Your opponent can now elect to accept the duel or decline. If they decline, the enemy character stand's regiment becomes broken, and the duel action ends. If they both accept, both character stands attack each other simultaneously, rolling to hit and making defense and resolve rolls. I'm going to say this again, and resolve rolls. So you do take resolve on duels, as usual. Any wounds inflicted are applied only to the appropriate character stand, not its regiment. If your character stand is slain during the duel action, your regiment immediately takes a free combat reform action. This combat reform does not require, scrolling down, you to perform a resolve characteristic test, and is considered a clean reform. However, You may only reduce rank and files by the minimum amount needed to fill the gap created by this character stand's demise. If both character stands are destroyed as a result of a duel, the active player combat reforms first. That's it. That's Duels.
That's Duels, baby.
Yeah. Banish your ass to the Shadow Realm into the dirt. So, Cass,
I am.
What's your biggest hot take about Duels?
For the most part, they're not super impactful right now. That's the long and short of it. Like they it's cool when you get one off. There are some weird little tricks that you can do with Duels. Like one thing that are people who are smart playing into me is if I'm using hard mommy, if you can duel her. Like it's tough because I don't necessarily have to take it because of bravery, but there are situations where I don't want to be broken even for a short amount of time. So like if you can keep her in a pointless duel that just chips off a couple hit points from her every turn, then that ties up her healing. So that's not a bad thing to do if you're fighting her, but it's not necessarily always going to work. Other than that though, like I don't know. There's not enough not enough of incentive to duel or not enough of a disincentive to not duel for it to really be super impactful. So like if you have a dueling character and you can force it, then it's fun, but you're probably to make a dueling character dumping like maybe even like at the minimum. Yeah, like you're looking at either at the minimum an extra stand's worth of points, anywhere up to even because you can make a monstrous dueling Conanier if you want.
Oh yeah,
but it feels tempting in theory because it's like evasion 3, all of his hits are smites and Quicksilver strikes. Like, yeah, that's gonna just blend any character that it touches. But once like that's an insane amount of points to dump into a character, and then the Huskarls that you've put them in, well, they're just gonna die.
Yeah,
they died the second they got on that boat.
They accepted their fate.
Yeah, so you're like I've had so many times where I've made a dueling Conanier and put it in a unit of Huskarls, and that unit of Huskarls just bites the dust.
Bites the dusteroo. I think that's a JoJo reference. Yeah, I agree too. Like there was plenty of times like when we first started playing Conquest, I never built a character specifically to duel. I know a lot of newer players will I don't want to say it's like a trap, but they will build a character to duel thinking like this is a thing that happens a lot. Like because a lot of people when they see Conquest and rank and file, they think of old Warhammer Fantasy, they think about how the regiments would get into each other and then how the heroes would duel each other because the problem with Warhammer Fantasy was that it was Hero Hammer and that your opponent's entire regiment of like 60 clan rats, actually 120, 200 clan rats would all attack, and then your opponent would decide, oh, I'm going to take it all on the character, and then they would roll a bunch of dice, and they're like, oh, I have a 3-up save, and I get to re-roll ones, and it's like, oh, now I've taken these like 120 attacks, and I've reduced them down to 30, and now I get a 4-up feel no pain, and oh, now I've taken it down to like 10, and you know, I'm obviously exaggerating here, but this is what happened, and the character...
Are you?
No, because this happened. I can find some old videos of like old Warhammer Fantasy Battle reports where this literally happened. Yeah. But the character would all take it on the chin and end up taking like 2 out of their 10 wounds, and it'd be like, okay, and then your opponent would fight back, and so you kind of want to duel out the character so you can fucking kill this guy and actually kill the regiment and get out of this combat and do something.
Yeah.
So in Warhammer Fantasy, it was more relevant to duel characters and get characters into each other. What was very thematic and, you know, a fun thing to do because people hear the lore, read books, read the codex stuff, and they're like they're really excited to recreate these fights with their own army, with their own characters and such. And players in Conquest want to do the same thing because, you know, it's a really exciting thing. Like we see it in a lot of movies and cinema where movies, media, all that stuff, even reading books where there's a massive fight, the hero and his arch enemy meet each other in the middle of this fight. Like a big one I remember off the top of my head very easily is in Game of Thrones, and they never talk about this, they never show this fight in the books, but they always talk about it where Robert Baratheon fought oh, what the hell was his name? It's one of the Targaryens. It was Rhaegar. Yeah, Rhaegar Targaryen in this river, and how they met, and Robert smashed him with his warhammer, and all the red rubies in his breastplate broke off and split and got flushed down the river, and peasants were finding the rubies in the river for like the next 20 years, kind of thing. Like, that's a pretty epic moment in a story, and that story you never actually experience. It's all these other characters talking about like the Robert the King, like his crowning moment and achievement of him being king by killing, you know, the guy who would take the throne. And I'm shorthanding this. There's a lot of people who read Game of Thrones, and, you know, like, there's about a couple other things, but you know, that's the gist. It's like, that's a very cinematic moment that you read about and you think about. Like, I have the old Song of Ice and Fire RPG, and the picture on that, like, the book cover is Robert Baratheon fighting Rhaegar Targaryen in that river. So, you know, it's like that cinematic moment, and people want to recreate that in Dueling, except in Conquest, Dueling isn't worth it even remotely. Like, you either kill the character, and there's times where you want to duel, and I will give it props. There are a couple times you want to duel, and times you want to duel is you want to cut out a wizard out of a regiment, either because they are like a Dwag tempered sorcerer who's just full up Baja blasting you in the face. Like a healing priest or hard mommy. A support characteristic who's a support character who's super buff, like the Imperial Officer with Armor, Dominion, and Banner of Steel. Like, you want to cut that guy out to make the Steel Legion or whatever regiment he's in weaker. So there's reasons to duel, but if you get a hold ray and a Conagir into a fart, a fart, it is a fart, into a fight, like, Jesus Christ. Probably both players aren't going to do it. And then we get into the next problem of, if you're a decked out Killy Conagir fighting an Imperial officer, he's just going to decline the duel, and his regiment becomes broken. And if he set up his stack properly, he draws his next card, and it's either the character who has the rally action, who just rallies the regiment. Like, a lot of time I'll put the Imperial officer at the bottom of my deck when, you know, things are like the shit's hitting the fan in the game, where like we gotta do stuff. I don't need the characters at the top or in the middle. I need them at the bottom, and I'll just have I'll draw the character rally. And my regiment's ready to go. Or the Steel Legion specifically, they have bravery, so the regiment's ready to go. Or I'll just rally and then just clash, like, and just fight the regiment, because it's easier to kill regiments than it is to try and like snipe out durable characters. Like, I don't believe any currently released 100 Kingdoms characters can kill a hold ray off the top of my head. Like, like, you know, like, the dice roll in your favor and your opponent fails all their stuff, probably kill them. But like, consistently, they can do it. Like, maybe the closest one is probably the Order of Sealed Temple, because he has quick strikes, what we talked about, where you get to fight first. So he might be able to kill him before he gets killed as well. Then I can take some like Calibrin on the Sealed Temple guy and like reroll all my attacks, and my opponent can like reroll all their defense. So, you know, you're kind of getting something in there. But it's just not worth it to duel. And as Cassandra said, it's really tough, because you're going to be putting more points that could have been stands or extra regiments into a super killy duelist. And the easiest way to avoid a duel is to not put your character, like the regiment that character's in, into the character that wants to duel you. Like, a lot of the time I'll just set it up so that my opponent hits some chaff, or I'll get the alpha and I'll just charge in, clash the regiment, kill their entire regiment, character dies fighting, kill some, like, a stand or two. Like, I've gone in and killed a Killy Conagir before, like that, who was in a unit of Huskarls. I think it was against you, and your Killy Conagir like killed 2 stands with the guys when he died fighting. So I was like, wow, that was really annoying, but like, Conagir's dead. So it's that's my big issue with duels. It's too defensive. There's no reason to accept or do them as the defending player. And to build an offensive duelist who can consistently kill stuff in duels, it's not worth it. Like, it's better just get more dudes in a fight. And in the Leandros episode, Leandros, very much in development of Conquest, didn't want Hero Hammer from Warhammer Fantasy. And
Yeah.
I'm happy about that because, and his whole big reasoning is that, like, in a fight, a person can take on another person. But once there's like 3 or 4 guys around you, you're getting the shit kicked out of you no matter how good you are at fighting.
Yeah.
And if there's like 12 guys around you, you're dead. You're not standing around. That's why like when a regiment dies, the hero either dies or like sometimes for me he like runs off. It's like, oh, he's running away. Like he'll be back later, but like in the next battle or whatever, but he's done for today.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. Like even 12 peasants with spears versus like the hero, like spears are going through. Like another moment from media is from the Witcher games where they do like kind of the backstory of Geralt the Witcher, where he was the butcher of what the hell was it? Rivia? No, they call him Geralt of Rivia. He got the butcher of Blavica or something. I don't fuck me. Anyway, this is town. There was a riot and like a bunch of peasants stabbed him with a bunch of fucking pitchforks. Like this monster hunter died to pitchforks. But it was also like 60 peasants. Like you're just a guy.
Yeah.
So and the game is kind of grounded in some sort of realism for that as well. Like, yeah, we got all these monsters and stuff, but we still got to kind of ground it a little bit so it's believable.
Yeah.
Do you have any like what other things do you have to say? I've kind of spread my whole like put my dueling cake out there for everyone to gobble up. Like what I really think about this.
Yeah, I mean my take, like my opinions are pretty straightforward about it. It's in its current form, like it's just not impactful. And it's like one thing I do really like about this game is that it's not a hero-oriented game or a character-oriented game the same way that other systems are. So I do appreciate that aspect of it. But that being said, I don't know what the fix is, because it's hard to just. It's not the focus of the game, so it's hard to balance it out without it either just being nothing or without it being everything.
So yeah, and like I don't want it to turn into Hero Hammer, but there's times where I want it to be a little more impactful. But it's kind of at the point where like it would need a complete rework. I feel to be something because it's kind of hit the edge, like it's hit the wall of what it can do. Because if you decline a duel, your regiment shatters. Like holy shit, what the fuck?
Yeah, that would be huge.
But it kind of has to hit that level of except my duel or your entire regiment is gone for it to be relevant, and then people are going to build killy characters. Except there's a couple factions that don't really build killy characters. Like the big 3 I want to say for killy characters are Dweg, Nords, and Old Dominion can get some very killy characters in their roster. And while other factions get a very killy character, they can't get to the level of like those 3 factions could easily produce. Like, maybe there's something in like city states that's actually like really, really good. I'm not really like looking at too hard, but off the top of my head, those are the ones that stand out to me.
Yeah. So another thing to consider as well is maybe this is just where it's meant to be in terms of like this, I guess, is my hottest take, is that it's so there's a couple factions that are particularly good at it. It's an option that's there. It's not something that they have to build around necessarily, but like they can.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's all it is. Maybe they don't need to overthink it or make it another super important mechanic, because the game is like people like it as it is. We don't need to add character duel management as a huge source of mental bandwidth.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people kind of like want their characters to duel, but like that whole chat with Leandros is it's more like regiments and troops versus regiments of troops. The character is there who's still going to do work, but they're just at the end of the day just another guy who's slightly better.
Yeah, and I prefer that. Like I like the idea of character units being add-ons to regiments more than being their own entities in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think things are necessarily off the mark, but the reality is, if you are going into Conquest thinking like I'm going to make a dueling-oriented list, my advice is to use is don't.
Yeah, don't. Like
It's
go ahead.
like you can, if you're having fun with your friends, like you can do that, and there will be a 1 in a million, or maybe slightly better than that, opportunity where like either like you'll get one really good duel off, or your friends are idiots and you'll get like 10 or 15 really good duels off. But at the end of the day, like it's a problem that's easily solved by a relatively competent player.
Yeah,
And
I also feel like if your meta is doing duels, where like kind of when you come up to your opponent and there's like that unspoken agreement, like, oh yeah, we're gonna get our big, like, I'm gonna get my hold Ray and your Conan gear into a fight this game, like, and we're gonna duel it out, and that's something we like to do. It's like it's totally fine. I'm not like, I'm the fun police, you gotta do it this way. It's more like, this is the conversation about duels and how they've kind of turned and shown up in our meta and a couple other people's meta that we talked about. Like, I know there's been a couple times where members in the BonkTable Discord are like, hey, you guys gonna talk about duels? I was like, yeah, eventually. We got other shit we gotta talk about. So, I'm all for that, and I know there's a bunch of people early on, and I do find it's a lot of newer players will build characters to duel because it's like, I want to deck out my character with all the bling. It fucking feels sweet to do it.
mm-hmm.
But then when they deck out their character in like 200 to 300 points of bling and don't get a duel off, it's kind of like, well, that 200 to 300 points could have been an extra regiment, could have been more stands. It could have been something else that was more relevant to the game itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I know. That's. I mean, what else is there to say? Like, it's.
Yeah.
But the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, well, this is all it really needs. I'm going to potentially cause problems for us in the court of public opinion with this take. So I should have vetted this, but I don't care. I think dueling at the end of the day is like bloodlust. Like it's not supposed to be good. Like, it's not. Like, get over it. It's a bad thing. Like, it sucks first, but you can you can leverage a small amount of benefit of it. Is my opinion of bloodlust. Whereas everybody's like, well, it's a special rule, so it should be good.
No.
And it just ain't that. But so it's a similar type of thing, is what I'm trying to say. Where it's like, dueling isn't the whole game. If you want to try and do it, yeah, sure, you can. But you can probably spend those points. I can think of at least 3 better ways.
Yeah, and another thing about dueling, if you do want to duel, stack the deck in your favor by finding weak characters that a competent melee character can kill. Like, you got your hold Ray, get into a fight with a chapter mage's regiment who's like, it's like, I don't know, 8 stands of men at arms or some shit, and she's got Nuala's tears and she's healing them, and you just be like, I declare a duel. Chapter mage's like, I'm broken, and you're like, okay, Dragon Slayers, go to town. Just eat them.
I will say, the last game I played, like, so the other side of the coin is dueling is not an essential part of the game, but I think also one thing that's overlooked is when it's time to think about doing it. I generally don't, because I don't like the risk associated with it. Like, most of my characters can die if a duel goes, like, if somebody has a good die roll, so I usually don't want to risk it. But like the last game that I played, now granted the game was more or less decided at this point and not in my favor, so this one thing alone wasn't going to swing things, but I was playing with a big block of Braves that had 2 regiments of Old Dominion going into it, in the front and in the flank, and like, I mean, it was like they were doing their job, but it was only a matter of time before they got whittled down. But because the Archimandrite was in the unit of those dumb guys, those crappy guys, legionaries.
Yeah, legionaries.
He was she was in a block of them, and it was against Hard Mommy, so I was just like, well, let's duel. And like, it was a no-win situation because for their my opponent's whole plan to work, like that unit had to be unbroken. So they had to accept it, and then I just I think they got one hit through on me, and I just punched her into vapor.
Just dumpstered them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there are times where duels like that show up naturally in playing the game itself, and your opponent does have to accept them. Like, maybe was your opponent like on a point to score to win, and they were like, "Oh fuck, I need to be not broken."
yeah.
That like that's a very good setup, but also that it's. I'm not gonna say it's a niche scenario because it does show up a little more than what I would classify as niche, but it's something there you got to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Like, as you mentioned, there are reasons and why to duel, and those are it. I remember when we first played a lot of Conquest back in 1.15. You would run up your block of healing braves with your hard mommy, and I would just try and duel you out with the noble lord.
Mm-hmm.
And you started putting dueling defensive. You started putting dueling defensive artifacts and heirlooms on your hard mommy to stop that, because I kept doing it to you because that was my way of stopping you from healing and to wreck that regiment. So
yeah, I think looking at dueling as a situational tool, but actually finding those opportunities, I think, is an area where at least I, as a player, for sure, and probably a lot of people, are not really like looking for those opportunities, because there are situations where it's like, if you're fighting for a point and they've got more stands on it than you, but they've got a weak character and you've got a strong character, well, as long as you can get a couple stands on that spot, I know a way that you can take that stone.
Yeah, just kill that character.
Yeah, so it's little things like that, or have them decline and force them to break. So it's I don't know. Like I said, I'm realizing more and more as we talk about it, but I feel like it's it's a situational tool.
It's a tool in the toolbox. It's not like your hammer, what you're going to be pulling out and like just bopping nails down and doing work all day. I want to say it's more like maybe a pair of pliers. And you're like, oh no, I've hit a hard, like, oh, this hard nail's kind of stuck in there. Better go get the pair of pliers to pop it out, like, something like that.
Yeah, it's a finesse piece more than anything else, and I think that's the trap, is that you see these dual artifacts where you're like, well, I'm going to turn my this old man into a hurricane of blades, and that's generally not the way to go about it. But like, a Conanier is going to win almost any, like, really just a hold ray is the only one who can, where it's like, well, they're both going to get fucked up.
Yeah,
but that's the worst case scenario is they're both going to get fucked up. So it's I guess I'm gonna boldly say that myself included, but we maybe need to reappraise our relationship with dueling rather than dueling as a mechanic.
Yeah, like, and that's also fair. Like, listeners, the people who are listening to this, that's you, the listener. I had a point and I totally forgot it, but just keep duels in the back of your head. If the opportunity arises, takes it. If it's safe and gonna be consistent, because no one likes losing their character either.
Yeah,
and it's kind of not worth taking the dueling upgrades, because there's plenty of games where I just don't duel.
Yeah,
but the times I do duel, I'm using a character that can just kill stuff, and I can probably do enough work just with their base stats to get the work done. So I don't need those upgrades anyway.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is if you've plowed 130 points into upgrades onto a character, like, you're going to be reckless with it to try and get a return on that investment, or you're going to make bad decisions, or at least you're more prone to. I definitely am. I guess I don't speak for everybody. Some of you people have nerves of steel, I suppose. Whatever. But definitely once I've invested, it's the, once you have a hammer, every problem starts to look like a nail type thing. Like when you have the big block of Braves and you have Death's Gaze, like you're trying to get those charges off, you've invested a huge amount of resources into getting those stupid big charges, so you have to do it. Things like that. So you want to make sure that you're not obligating yourself to force an opportunity or an outcome that isn't going to arise naturally through playing the game.
Yeah. Do you want to pick a character? Like, do we want to go through each of the factions, and we're gonna kind of talk about one character and maybe like some of the upgrades that you would throw in a character to actually, if you were to pump all the dueling into a character, like what we think our best choice was?
I mean, I can really only speak to two factions very confidently, and I think you've got a couple that you know better than others, so a couple of them are going to be just winging it, but yeah, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. So
that's just my way of saying, like, if you listen to this and you think I'm wrong, number one, screw you, and number two, you know, I don't know every faction. I only know the two that I play, and even then, like, I'm only just okay.
I'm acceptable at best.
Yeah, I'm ready to admit that I'm okay, but on the lower end of okay.
A C minus. That's what makes the world run round.
Honestly, like I'm gonna say like a D. I'm solidly like a D level player at this point.
D for damn.
Yeah, but I think you know, there's still room to grow. But anyway, nonetheless, if you don't like what I'm saying, go to hell. Be short of it. Make your own fucking podcast. How about that?
You're getting a little aggressive there. Should we move this on to the dueling character?
Yeah, we might as well.
All right.
I took a bunch of prednisone before we started recording, so now never mind. That's a really niche joke, and it's not like anyway.
We'll start with 100 Kingdoms.
Right along. Yeah, let's talk about the 100 Kingdoms. So, who's the big dueler there?
So the big dueler isn't even released yet. So it's the prior commander of the sword. I do want to say I believe the noble lord on foot with release models is our big dueling character, but his stats are kind of crap. He's class 3, 4 attacks, 4 wounds, resolve 3, defense 3, so he's literally in the middle of the pack of getting shit done. He gets like cleave 1, you can retinue him tactics combat 1 through 3, so he gets 1 wound going up to 5, another attack going up to 5. Gets +1 cleave and clash, so he gets up to clash 4. For heirlooms, it's kind of all the same for all these guys. Like, you can take along lineage and masteries. I don't really like for the combat masteries to get stuff done. Expose weakness was enemy characters can ignore or reduce number of hits suffer. Enemy character stands cannot ignore or reduce number of hits. It kind of pops up at whatever. Disordering Strikes is kind of the big one because it's -1 to their clash. So if you really want to keep yourself alive, you can give that to opponents. However, the big like Sweeney boys like the Conning Gear can get up to like clash 5. The Hold Ray can get up like the clash 5 through upgrades, I believe. Maybe that's still around. I'm not 100% sure. We'll get there. So this does help out in weaker duels. Like if you're fighting like a chapter mage who's clash 1, you can make them 0 and then be like, eat it. So, but the combat ones I don't really look at because they're more like supporty masteries. I kind of go grab Long Lineage for another upgrade.
Yeah.
For heirlooms, things in here, Indomitable Plate's not bad, +1 wound in defense, get them up to like wound 6, defense 4. People sometimes grab the Bakan token, but that's more for the prior commander of the sword because he's evasion 2 base, so you can go up to evasion 3. The Mask of Ecodris lets you reroll failed defense rolls. These are kind of all like for the Noble Lord, I'd probably just take Indomitable Plate, or even if I want to get spicy, Armor of Dominion. So if their stands are in contact, I can ignore Cleave and Smite from other duelists. Yeah. But the stands have to be in contact. It specifically calls it out. If you're wearing Armor Dominion and the 2 character stands who are in the duel are not in contact, Armor Dominion does not matter. So just be aware of that. For weapons, Caliburn for rerolling your hits, and your opposing enemy must reroll successful defenses. Probably the best dual weapon 100k got. Another good follow-up is Flesh Cleaver for Fiend Hunter and Deadly Blades. That's really it, I would say, for upgrades for a character in 100 Kingdoms, kind of slapping that all in the Noble Lord. For an unreleased character, Prior Commander of the Sword's really good because he just has higher base stats. Like, he's base clash 4, he's base attack 6, he's base wound 5, resolve 4, defense 4, evasion 2. So you can do a lot more with him with upgrades.
Yeah.
So for heirlooms, you can take that a cannon token to get him to evasion 3, what's really good in a duel. You can take Caliburn. You could take his retinue for combat 3, giving him +1 wound to 6, +1 attack, I believe to 7. Yeah, to 7. And then give him cleave +1 and clash +1, so he goes up to clash 5. He can do a ton of work, and he can just output. Yeah. Another one that I didn't talk about is eccentric fighting style. If you take tactical retinue 1, your character gets +2 attacks and rerolls failed hit rolls and successful defense rolls. So you just screw defense rolls and just go all offense, but you're attacking at like 9 attacks.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff in there which is kind of funny, but Priority Commander of the Sword is 100 Kingdom's best duelist.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Is he gonna is he gonna win some fights baseline? Yeah, you know, he could kill some Jarls, he can kill probably a Blooded, a Shaman, stuff like that. I'm just picking Nord's characters, but I still think like the whole Ray and the Conagiro would kill him.
Yeah, so I mean the thing to look at, I feel like with duels is like so where the Order of the Sword Priority Commander is, like where he's good in theory is that he's got 6 attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Because like most heroes are between like 4 and 6 wounds, right? So
yeah.
You want to attack max as much as possible in a dueling character, and Cleave 1 is going to help you get see, that's the thing with just Cleave 1 though, he's not going to kill a duelist. He's just going to be a little bit better at bullying non-duelists.
And it's more like the good duelers, if we're kind of going down the thought process of I only want to duel when I have a certainty to win and I only want to duel weaker opponents, you're just bullying, like I'm in Spires now, Biomancers, Ferromancers, maybe the High Clone Executor if he's not decked out. He's only defense 2 base. Like there's some stuff you can do with the High Clone to get him up higher. But if it's just just like a fresh baseline High Clone Executor, you could kill him. So it's kind of like that. Do you want me to talk about Spires?
Yeah. I do.
So I'm going to talk about the Mimic Assassin a little bit here, but Mimic Assassin is kind of the dueling character in Spires. Like he's designed to duel. He's got that Quicksilver Strike. He's got Flurry. So he is rerolling all his attack rolls. He's Clash 4 with 5 attacks base, and he's making all his attacks first unless someone else has Quicksilver as well.
Yeah.
Then he's got Purity of Purpose. When he does a duel, at the end of the action, each failed defense roll made by an enemy character stand causes 2 runes instead. And this rule does not stack with Deadly Blades. So he has a built-in Deadly Blades.
Yeah.
For Masters, he can take Combat. So he's going...
Well, I'll just give him what?
Purchase... No, he's not...
And then...
Yeah. He can't take any Retinue. He can take some mutations. Let's see here.
Anything right. Combat Mastery is not Retinue.
He can get to Evasion 3 if he really wants to. He can take Adaptive Evolution, which gives him +1 Clash, Volley, Resolve, or Defense to a maximum of 4. So he's Defense 0 base. So if you spend 4 turns, you get him to Defense 4. It's pretty good. He can get Tenacious for duels. Like, there's a couple things you can do for him, but he's kind of baseline built to kill. And truthfully, with him, I probably wouldn't upgrade him. I would just send him out to just do kill bombs, where I just run his regiment to somebody and just stab them, or use his other ability, his chameleonic Epiduras, I'm gonna say it's Epiduras, where he can just seek new escort whenever he wants.
Yeah.
Another decent dueler is the Lineage Highborn. Clash 3, 6 attack, 6 wounds, Resolve 4, Defense 4, Evasion 2. Like, just a really good pure base stat line. Only problem with her is that she can't take any retinue. Her masteries are they're the same as everyone else's, so I'm not really going to go too far into that one. And then some of the mutations are like, I would say, or like they require some masteries, or they require like Baromancer or High Clone Executor. So she's kind of locked in, but she's just a really good, just mean duelist who kills like casters and support characters. Like she can just do it easily.
Yeah.
The character that actually can duel inspires is the Highborn Executor, and he specifically takes. I did mention this before. Oh yeah, Adaptive Evolution, where he gets his Clash, Volley, Resolve, and Defense to 4. So he bumps his Defense 2 to 4. He bumps his Clash to 4. He bumps his Volley to 4, and then he just takes his Retinue for +1 wound, getting to 5, +1 attack, getting to 6. Where is Retinue again? I gotta click on it. Tactics, and then getting +1 Clash, so he is... Well, I guess he goes to 4 there, but you can use the adapted thing to get to 4. But he also has Cleave 1 and Flawless Strike, so he has Smite on his attacks when they roll 1s. That's kind of what makes him good. But pardon me, he's not going to snap to a Conan Gear.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's bottom line. Like, there's really, like... There's kind of like 3 bands of characters, I feel like, broadly speaking. There's, like, never get him in a duel, only duel him against other guys, or below, and then there's, like, the duelers.
Yeah, so... do you want to talk about a dueler?
Yeah.
Holdray, the only dueler in in Dwag.
Yeah.
This guy fucks. He's Clash 4, 5 attacks, 5 wounds, Defense 4, Resolve 4. Like, best base stat line. That's he's Cleave 1 base as well. Mm-hmm. He can combat his way. Well, he gets flank in combat? Jesus Christ. That's actually really good. I thought that was in tactical. Tier 1 combat supposedly for Dwag, unless the army builder online is broken, is flank. I could check my phone for that one, but he can also get +1 attack and Clash to go into Killer 3, so he goes up to Clash 5 and 6 attacks base. Jesus, I'm just gonna go.
I'm seeing the combat retinue here is tier 1 +1 wounds, tier 2 +1 attacks, and tier 3 +1 Clash.
Okay, so maybe the online thing is busted. I'm just checking my phone to make sure. My phone says for retinues, combat is flank, +1 attack, and Clash. On the Dwag Home 1. Are you on a different one, or are you on the PDF?
I'm looking at the PDF.
Okay, that's weird. I don't know which one to follow then.
I believe the
PDF
party line is to defer to the PDF when there's a conflict.
So what was the first one? +1 wound?
Yeah, it's just the normal combat retinue, +1 wound, +1 attacks, and then +1 Clash.
Yeah, so Clash 5, 6 attacks, 6 wounds, Resolve 4, Defense 4. Super good. Yeah. I'm just scrolling down to see if there is anything ridiculous. He gets Steel enhancements to get Hardened 3. God.
Yeah, so...
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, there's really only one character that can duel him, and that's the Conan.
Yeah, there's Dragonberg, where he gets to Cleave 3. Jesus. Perfectly Balanced, he gets +1 to his attacks. In addition, when he gets into duels, enemies cannot use their Quicksilver Strike on him. Yeah, this guy's built to kill. Yeah.
And you'll actually find that a lot of the options for the Conan, like now that I look and we describe those, are designed like they're just designed to counter each other.
Yeah. Well, there's that piece of art that Parabellum has where it's like the Nord and the Dwag guy dueling and with everyone else around like kind of cheering.
Yeah.
If people have seen that one. Conan Gear, yeah, we're Nords. It's all you.
Yeah, so the Conan actually just built this in the army builder so that I could speak to the investment that you'd be looking at if you wanted to build this character. And mind you, I've taken it to its dumbest extreme possible.
Perfect.
But also, this is just taking stuff that would actually be relevant. Like, you could milk a few extra points out of this if you really wanted to be whatever about it. But nonetheless, so a Conan gets to take 3 trove finds. Which is what they call artifacts. Base. And you can long lineage that and take an extra one, but it's kind of pointless. I did it just to do it.
Here are all my clothes.
Yeah, so if you to build a 4 artifact Conanier, which would, and I'll go over everything that he gets for this, but the point investment, just to give you an idea of what you're wasting on this, would be 270 points. If we cut out Long Lineage and the Banner, which are both like pretty extraneous, it was just for the purposes of the bit. If we pump those points into Combat 3, and then like giving like I don't know, ignoring the masteries that you can take with that opened up, you're still looking at 235 points. But what that would net you in this case is so Koningir, I would give him Aspect of the Dragon.
Yep.
For +1 Clash.
So he's Clash 5 now.
Yeah, but that's not all.
Oh boy.
So in addition to that, so before we get into the gear, let's look at the retinue. So if you just want to give him straight up combat 1 through 3, to make him as good of a dueler as possible, that gives you, as we discussed, +1 wound, +1 attacks, and +1 clash. So now we've got a Koningir who is Clash 6, 7 attacks at 6 wounds.
Resolve 4, defense 2, evasion 2.
Yeah, but let's sweeten it. So with your 3 Trophines, if you're building a duelist, what you're going to want to take is Yarn Repair, Yarn Reaper, Yarn Griper, whatever. The J artifact.
Is it the Redbringer?
No. It's under incongruously enough, it's under armors.
It's under armors. Okay.
Jarn Griper.
Oh, it's oh god. I just read what it does. Hey, what does it do?
So that gives every when you're participating in a duel, your character gets smites. So all of those attacks are ignoring armor. Not evasion, unfortunately, but they are ignoring armor. So the next one that I would take is Vinda the Dancer. So that's for every 2 successful hits, rounding up. This character's stand makes during a clash or duel action, roll 1 additional attack and add any hits to the total number of hits. These additional hits do not generate additional attacks. So that's just like, it's excessive, but like it helps ensure that you're getting it through, especially in a duel where you want those extra attacks to make sure that you're pushing through the damage, right?
Yeah.
So conceivably, like at 7 attacks, you're rounding up, so that's going to be like if you roll perfectly, you'd get 4 extra attacks. In addition.
Well, it's Clash 6.
Yeah,
you are kidding.
So I mean, you can still fail on 6s, but you do get a reroll.
Do you seriously get a reroll? No, you're
Oh yeah, well, you get a reroll if you inspire.
Yeah, and you can't inspire during duels unless you gain.
Okay, so it's a.
All right, that is what you get inspire.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So you're functionally on 5s, but still, that's great.
Yeah.
You're probably getting most of them through, and you're probably generating enough extra hits from Vinda to make up for anything that you're losing. And then the last piece of the puzzle for me is to take Hariel's Folly, which gives the Konanir +1 to evasion, which gets them up to evasion 3. So that means in any given duel, there's only a 50-50 chance they're going to die. The way I see it.
What the fuck is happening? Can I make a suggestion here? Can we add one more thing?
What's that?
So under masteries, there's Headhunter. The character stand causes 3 hits for each roll of 1 during a duel for 20 points.
So that's another one. So that's basically guaranteeing, like, if you have triple exploding ones, I mean, sure, you're like, even if you get 1, that's great.
Because here's the weird thing about it. I think it doesn't have the clause of these do not benefit from other special rules. So the smite thing kicks in.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. What the fuck?
Yeah, it gets disgusting. So, but he's the only guy who can get through the hold ray, and he's the only guy who can conceivably half the time walk away from an encounter with a hold ray.
Yeah. Because there is a Quicksilver hold ray. I believe there was one of the artifacts give you Quicksilver if you wanted to take it or something. Or no, it ignores Quicksilver, but like you could you could take a Quicksilver at like a duel from a Quicksilver because your evasion 3, survive it, and just go ba-bam!
Yeah, exactly. What gives you
Holy
Quicksilver on him?
Fuck.
Let's see.
I'm just looking for the Quicksilver now. It's like, where is it?
I wonder, maybe they don't get a Quicksilver.
I don't know.
Now I'm starting to wonder. Yeah, it doesn't look like it actually. Unless it's through the Masteries, but I don't think it would be.
No, I think it's more like an artifact or something.
Usually it's an artifact, yeah, but no, I mean, correct us if we're wrong, but I guess Akani just doesn't get Quicksilver. Maybe that was in an old in 1.5?
Yeah, maybe.
Or not 1.5. Yeah, 1.5.
Yeah.
I don't really know. But yeah, I don't see a pathway to Quicksilver for them here. I mean, another option, so you could add Rio to the Redbringer. I don't think that's a better option than Vinda. It's about half the price, so that's something to consider.
At this point, we're building a character to like kill all like every other character in a in a Thunderdome. 2 characters enter, 1 character leaves.
So this Hold Ray, or this not Hold Ray, this Conanier will kill any other character that it duels. And I would, like I said, there's about a 50% chance that it'll survive an encounter with a Hold Ray, and it'll probably kill that Hold Ray on the way down.
Yeah.
I almost now at this point, for the sake of, if I had an afternoon, like I don't want to waste one of my weekly games on this, but if I had an afternoon or something extra to experiment with, it'd almost be fun to run a army list with kitted out duelist Dweg against Nords and just see what happens.
Like, we could film like a little video in the basement of like, hey, we brought all the characters, here's what they have. And then like we're just gonna roll the dice. It's just like, Jesus Christ, like, let's do a fight club.
Yeah.
1 model or 2 models enter, 1 model leaves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so like a blooded, you can through the same principles make a pretty competent dueling blooded there. The advantage with a blooded is you get cleave 2.
Yeah, who cares? You have smite.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can pay the points and get smite, and that's way better. So,
but a conning gear baseline, a blooded baseline, they are going to do work and successfully probably kill a lot of things just with their base stats.
They don't need upgrades to kill most of the characters. They'll just do it.
Like Volva, dead. Vagni Lord, maybe over 2 turns dead because he has 6 wounds. Shaman's dead. Jarl, you're a noble lord, but North style, so you're also dead. Yeah, it's a lot of the characters just die to duels or get super fucked up.
Yep.
Should we go to the next one?
Yeah, who's next?
It is Wadrun. Still you.
Okay, so this one, there's a couple, like, I don't think we have really good duelists, but I think there's a couple dumb little things that you can do that are at least amusing. So, you know what? I would say we have competent bullies pretty much across the board. Like a chieftain, clash 3, cleave 2, 5 wounds, 3 on the resolve and the defense. Like, he's going to get the shit kicked out of him by an actual duelist, but he'll bully anybody. Easy.
Yeah.
Scion is a pretty good duelist without much upgrading. Again, cleave 2, resolve 4, which is nice. The defense is lower. Getting 5 attacks at clash 3. Both of them benefit from beast drums quite a bit because that gets you flurry and an extra, 1 or 2 attacks.
Also, the Scion's evasion too. It's really big in duels.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, +1 attack for beast drums, and you get flurry. So that's generally like one of the better offensive upgrades for any character in Wadrun.
Mm-hmm.
Just if you're just in a vacuum looking for something to take. Hard Mommy is not a competent duelist on her own, but there's something, I've never really gotten a chance to do it, but there's a way that you can build her that I think it gets really stupid.
Okay.
So if you take, let me see if I remember how to do this. So you need to take tack 1 for Indomitable. And then you get Beads of Death for Tenacious.
trying to find Bees of Death now. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
What's under armors? Yeah. So now you got Tenacious and Indomitable. So you're shrugging one failed defense and one failed resolve every combat.
That's actually kind of good.
And then, or every, Beads of Death. And then what's the other one? Sorry, just one sec. Attack 1, Beads of Death. And then the other one that really makes it stupid is, just a moment. There it is. Ritu's Mark. So that character stance adds +2 to its defense characteristic. So it's just the character stand. But now what you're staring down the barrel of is a D5 R4 cleave 1, 5 wounds, 5 attacks, clash 3, hard mommy with tenacious and indomitable. So she's like, when I thought dueling was going to be more of a thing, this was my counterplay that I conceptualized, was to make a dueling tar pit.
Mm-hmm.
That just like you weren't going to get enough through to kill her, and then she would just heal it off every time.
Can she heal herself with her abilities?
So the way that it works is like you heal the regiment, right? So if you're missing, so it goes to whatever's missing wounds first. So I believe if your character is wounded and the regiment is wounded, you have to heal off the character before the healing will go into the actual stands.
Really? Is that how that works? Because it's
I could be wrong about that. That's how we've been playing it.
the regiment heals 4 wounds. So I think maybe because it specifies the regiment, because the character's health pool is separated from the regiment.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why when like you kill off the regiment, the character just runs off or dies with them. Like if it, because usually these things like specify if it's the character and the regiment.
I think now I have to look at how healing works to see how that's assigned, because I almost I feel like maybe there is a clause in the healing section of the rules that accounts for this.
Maybe
I could be wrong.
I don't even know where I'd find that. Let's go back to page 1. Healing 56.
Here we go. So on occasion a rule will call upon you to heal a number of wounds in one of your regiments. When this happens, the rule will tell you the number of wounds it heals, which we refer to as the heal points. If a rule calls upon you to heal a regiment, proceed in the following sequence, removing 1 wound marker per heal point until there are no more wounds to heal or you have run out of heal points. You cannot heal a regiment beyond the number of stands it began the game with. In the case of multiple healing abilities, resolve each one completely before resolving on to the next. So the sequence it specifies is 1. Heal characters. Remove any wound markers from the character stand if there are any present. Then 2. Heal wounded stands. Then 3. Restore stands. So it actually is pretty clear about it.
Yeah.
You got to heal off the character first. So my really stupid solution to a problem that never existed does technically work as I intended.
Thank goodness one of us read the rulebook.
Yeah.
Also, you can take tier 1, what is it? Tactics, or I guess teachings over conquest, and then combat 1 and 2 for +1 attack, +1 wound, so you get to wound 6.
Yeah, and that'll make you all the more resilient for that. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah. That's actually just the cockroach build.
Yeah. In terms of just like frustrating a duelist, like you're probably still gonna get smoked by the hold ray,
the Super Saiyan Conning gear we have discussed.
Yeah, or the Conning gear actually is probably gonna probably counter that pretty ably. But all you have to do is stay alive. As long as you're holding on with 1 wound,
you could kill his Huskarls with the Braves.
Yeah, and you're gonna get 4 of those back when the regiment activates. So if you're clever with your stack too, you can potentially recoup a lot of that. If you know how things are gonna, if you have a good idea of how things are gonna go and you can build around that, then you can probably almost immediately mitigate a lot of the negative effects of,
Yeah, no, I kind of like I'm dubbing it the cockroach build because you just refuse to die.
Yeah, if there was more dueling happening, I think it would have legs, but just because it is a big point, because let's see, if we build that, I'll quickly put that together in the army builder here. Matriarch Queen. And then if you popped a chant off on the regiment earlier in the turn, she would get the +1 clash too, so you can pump up her clash that way. Same is true for anyone. The war for the defense is just cleave insurance, so that's not necessarily, I think, the move if you're going that route. But you got to take long lineage to do 2 artifacts as well. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, that's fine.
If you're wanting to get tenacious in the mix as well. But if we're looking at all of that together, like that's about 200 points there, and in I mean, granted, her base is like about 100 points or so, but it is in fact 100 even, so that's 100 points worth of extra stuff. So I mean, but 200 points, that's a regiment. So
yeah, no, it's.
Are you getting more out of a tar pit hard mommy than you are out of a whole ass regiment? Probably not.
No, probably not at all. Yeah, I do like the build, but like duels aren't relative enough to justify that even remotely.
One thing that's cool about Duelist that's underexploited in the game, or the game has just evolved in a different direction, is as we've, I think, exemplified with some of the builds that we've been looking at here. Like, dueling is one of the areas where you can get really technical and fiddly with the artifacts and the traits that you give the characters. So that's nice. Like, I do like that. I think that probably the straightforwardness of the game at large works in its favor, just because the stuff that is there is like there's a lot going on and a lot that you need to be focusing on in a good way, but you don't need a bunch of fiddly little things, the technicalities and whatnot to be thinking about when you're playing the game necessarily. But it is nice that you can, make a really killy duelist or a really tough one, and you've got some options there. It's unfortunately something that by its very nature is going to wind up being underexploited in the game.
Yeah. I do like that build. Should we go into Old Dominion and talk about two different characters in here?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want the big monster or the regular guy?
I guess I'll talk about the monster. I assume you mean the Fallen Divinity?
Yeah, like I don't think the Fallen Divinity is good at dueling. It's such a huge target on its back. But if it ever did duel, and it was at tier 3, like it's 12 cleave 3 clash 4 attacks. Terrifying 3, like it's built like if it ever gets to this point, it's for some ungodly fucking reason gets into a duel, like it's gonna do work.
If you're in a position where you want to duel somebody with your tier 3 Fallen Divinity, and they can't just say no or avoid it, then everything is so shit fucked for them that like you probably don't need to do the duel.
I think the only thing that really survives against this is the conning gear.
Yeah, and even then, this is one of those 50-50 type.
Yeah, it's so many attacks, and you can take. I believe you can take 3 Dark Blessings, so you can go get Dread. You can go take Untouchable. Let's reroll 6s defensively, but then you're just becoming Evasion 1 reroll 6s because the conning gear is going to smite you. And then that's kind of really it. There might be something else in here that you want to grab, but maybe the Inspire. You always count as Inspire within 8 inches, so the Fallen Divinity is getting 4 reroll 6s on their clash. So something's gonna leak through for that poor conning gear who's Evasion 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's like it's just punitive at that point. But I mean, on the flip side, like a dueling conning gear could 2-round it in tier 1.
I think,
or even 1-round it.
In tier 1 with 10 wounds, I think it dies. Tier 2, it might have a little bit more chance to survive. Tier 3, if it still has all 15 wounds, I think the Fallen Divinity probably comes out and kills it, and I think the Dueling Congear, if it gets all 6 of its attacks, the one smite for 3 more hits, the doubling from the Dancer, like I think you just get enough wounds, which just pass through everything. Your opponent's rolling 1, so it's their evasion 1, re-rolling 6s.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of squeak in enough in there, maybe.
Yes.
But you know what? Even tier 3, if there's like poor dice rolls from both players, like they might have to do another round of dueling to kill each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And I believe the Fallen Divinity, due to its surrounded by fear and dead men, cannot refuse a duel. Just checking it really quick. It cannot refuse a duel. Yeah, it's in there. So it's it's a thing that exists. The other one that I want to talk about is.
While you talk about that, I'll be away for just a moment.
Okay,
So I may not respond immediately.
That's
but,
okay.
Yeah.
Is the Zilliarch. So this guy, and the only reason I picked the Zilliarch over the Strategos or even the Mounted Strategos is because he has one more attack. The Mounted Strategos is the same attack as him, but the Zilliarch can take Retinue and everything. So for Retinue, you got your combat 1 through 3, plus 1 wound. So Zilliarch, Clash 3, 5 attacks, 5 wounds, Defense 2, Evasion 1. Okay, cool. He's built offensively, kind of crap on the defense department, but he's going to get plus 1 wound to go to 6, plus 1 attack to go to 6, plus 1 clash and cleave plus 1. He's cleave 1 base, so he's going to go to cleave 2 with clash 4. He can take 2 treasures and a dark blessing. Is there anything in here that's interesting? There's something in here. Gladiator, yeah, so he gets flurry, so he can re-roll his clash 4. Deadly blades and parry. All hit rolls of 1 made against a regiment with a special roll during a clash or dual action must be re-rolled, so that makes your opponent re-roll. It's kind of nice. Sorry, I closed it. And then Deadly Blades, it's like the smite on 1s. Oh no, exploding 6s. Yeah, if they roll defensive 6, they take 2 wounds instead. Super good. For his upgrades, he's kind of, I don't want to say stuck. Armor, so there's Armor of the Living Saint, which gives him Quicksilver Strike and Blessed. He can only bless when his regiment clashes, what's really not the greatest, because he can't bless during duels, so you got to be aware of that. Quicksilver Strike is Quicksilver Strike. I think if you take Armor of the Living Saint and then, I don't even know how to say this, Scrufnar for the Cleave plus 1 and Linebreaker, or Clematis, the Blade of Kalsor, plus 1 attack and Cleave plus 1, or Etheron, Give Her a Mercy, plus 1 clash. In addition, well, you already got parry, counterattack, and cleave plus 1. Like, basically, any of these things would give him cleave plus 1. At this point, he's going to cleave 3. You pick the one you like, and then you take the Armor of the Living Saint, so he has Quicksilver Strike. And even though he has low defense, you just kind of hope that you kill your opponent at, like, clash 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 attacks, flurry re-rolling everything, Quicksilver Striking, and just killing your opponent before they kill you. Like, so there's a build there. It's something. I mean, that's kind of thing. I don't like. He's not going to win against the Holder. I don't really believe. I don't think he's really going to win against. He's not going to win against the Congear built to kill. Well, he might Quicksilver kill it before the Congear gets off, but the Congear's still evasion 3. He's killing everything in 100 Kingdoms. Maybe the Prior Commander might give him a little bit of a run for his money, but that's
the thing. He's just a super efficient bully. Like he's not.
Yeah,
he's not. He's a mid-tier dueler in top-tier dueler clothing. I feel like.
he's a third-rate dueler and fourth-rate dueler treasures.
Yeah,
setting up time to strike it again.
Yeah, but I mean, the stuff that he's gonna get, stuff that he's best at killing, he's just as good at killing without a bunch of upgrades as he is with. And the stuff that his upgrades aren't necessarily gonna put him, like you said, he might get lucky against one of the big two, but
yeah, or even like I don't think he lives against the Fallen Divinity. That's for fucking sure. He's not a contender. I think the Holgrave might have a chance to live against the Fallen Divinity more than him.
Yeah, but I mean, the Fallen Divinity dueling just feels weird. Like, I don't think that that's necessarily what you should be planning around either. So it's kind of in a class by itself because it's like basically like having a Tauntor attack you as a duel.
Today, well, you're like Legolas killing that elephant from Lord of the Rings. It only counts as 1.
Yeah.
So lastly, we got city states. I want to give a little shout out to the Eidolon. He's kind of like the long lineage. He's the lineage highborn from Spires. Kind of not an aggressive stat line. Like he's class 3, attack 4, 6 wounds, resolve and defense 3, evasion 2.
Yeah.
He can kind of take some modifications to change up his stats and give him different abilities. None of these really say, hey, you get stuff. There's one what's like the combat directive, where you pick and he gets like some bonuses until the end of each supremacy, and like he can get cleave +3 on him.
Yeah.
What's really good, so if he gets the cleave +3 at class 3, he's hardened 1. Like he'll kill some people. He's only got 4 attacks though, so he's just a bully.
Yeah. Yeah, the other option is he's also got, so his other combat directive is Greetings to a Fellow General, which gives him +5 attacks, but -1 to his evasion. So, like, it's nice in that you can choose between, like, either quality or weight of fire when you're attacking with him, but... let's see, I've never really looked too critically at the stuff that city-states can do here.
Yeah, they don't really build to duel. I think the only one that's really there to kill is actually the Polemarch, who surprisingly has a decent stat line. Defense with a shield going to 4. He's got Flurry, so he's rerolling his class 3, 5 attacks, 4 wounds, resolve 4. Retinue, you get Architects of the City, so you go up to tier 2 and you get +1 wound and attack, so you get 6 attacks, 5 wounds. Masteries, is there anything decent in here? You can get Flawless Strikes.
Yeah, like Blades of Ecades is probably...
Yeah, I think you take the Flawless Strike Mastery. Is there Blades? Right. Check out Blades of Ecades. +1 Clash and Flawless Strikes as well. You double up on that Flawless Strike. Oh, you can take Quicksilver or the Spear for +1 Clack and Cleave. Like,
yeah, so I mean, they've got... But these are just generally good upgrades. Like they aren't doing focused, and they're not going to give you that necessarily edge. Like Living Breastplate might be okay, but in duels, as in regiment to regiment combat, like at the end of the day, something that kills faster is more valuable than something that dies slower. So I like spending an upgrade to get rerolled, and it's just rerolls, right? Which is good, but when you're only rolling 4 or 5 dice in the first place, I don't know. It just for 20 points, like I don't feel like that's the move.
Yeah. So I think you can build him to be a bully. He actually has a pretty decent stat line. If like some scrub tries and fights him, he'll live. He might even win. Just defense 3 to 4 with a shield, like. Hitting those 4s and 5s is kind of what really pushes you over the edge. I don't think he survives a Killy gear. I think the whole Grey still smacks him into the dirt.
Yeah.
The Zilliarch, if the Polemarch doesn't grab Quicksilver Strike, I think the Zilliarch has a chance to kill him. It's probably slimmer than the Zilliarch likes. Yeah. But if the Polemarch has Quicksilver Strike, then I think the Polemarch will kind of push through and live through that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of characters. Like we didn't go through all of them because like there's some of them where it's like, wow, we would never duel with a mechanic or Aerostark.
But maybe
I would never duel with this guy.
There's a lot of technicalities with the builds too, so it's possible that there's stuff that because dueling is such a non-thing that we haven't really explored or noticed. So if you do want to get fiddly with the builds and you find something just unbelievable, then of course let us know, and we'll probably talk about that, or at least talk about it to one another privately.
Yeah, there's probably a build in here or two that we've missed, but we're just kind of like generalizing some very obvious things that you can look at and see where.
And I think that would be fun to find the sleeper duelist character who seems like so uselessly weak on paper, but with the right combination of upgrades becomes a killing machine. I think that would be fun and cute. I don't know if that even exists. But...
What are you talking about? You built the hard mommy cockroach build.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's not going to kill anybody.
No, but it's going to be annoying as fuck for the longest time.
Yeah, but I want to find like the Theist priest that like is just like a blender if you build it right type of thing.
Theus Priest is a fucking weirdo. He has a spell that gives him +1 cleave and immediately starts a duel. Oh, and deadly blades. So the spell he casts a spell, gets +1 cleave and deadly blades, and he immediately says, "Let's go, bitch!" And he starts to duel somebody. That's the spell.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, you gotta find those builds.
Yeah, and like there's a couple of things you could do with him to make him a little better, but it's just like, what the fuck are you doing with a Theus Priest? Because if you look at him, he actually has decent stats to just like shank people, like regular people, but his defense is like 2, and it's like, oh god, he's gonna die because he's 4 wounds. He just accepts it. Yeah, if there's another character he gets into a duel with, he just dies. He's just like hoping to kill it before he dies.
Yeah, if you're 4 wounds to defense, I am trying to duel you.
Yeah,
even if, like with any character.
You are the nerds, and now the bullies are coming to show up to bully you.
Yeah, like I can smell that in the air, and I'm going for it.
I'm pretty sure people have dueled my chapter mage before. They're like, I gotta duel the chapter mage. I'm like, the chapter mage is a unit of 3 stands of men-at-arms. Just kill a fucking men-at-arms. Stop trying to do this.
Yep.
That's when Turn the Tide was a thing. They would be like, character, turn the tide, regiment in there, do some, like, do some stuff. And it's like, nah, I'm gonna duel you. And it's like, what the fuck?
I almost wonder if maybe just for shits and giggles, since I'm trying to workshop a Nord list to play this week, maybe I will make a really goofy Conan Gear build with, like, Seize the Day so that I can do some kind of weird, like, charge duel.
No, we talked about this at the start of the episode. Dueling's not a good idea most of the time.
I know it's bad, but now that we've talked about it so much, I'm almost like, well, this could be fun. And then I walk home mad that night.
Yeah, you are going home mad that night. This is the record.
So maybe I shouldn't do that, but I think if it's like, I think anybody who has an opportunity to think about dueling a little bit differently and approach it differently, like maybe there's more of a dimension to it than we're realizing, is all that I'm saying. And I'm not going to be the person to figure it out because I'm not that good at the game, but somebody will.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge into duels. I try and duel as less as possible.
So here's the thing, it's tough because it's so, like, it's very, but the thing that makes it tough is almost like it's another layer to the positioning problem almost, because it's like if the problem that you're running into is that your characters aren't running into their characters, then like, well, why didn't that happen?
Yeah.
Is it because you put them in the wrong place? If you're me, probably. But it's I don't know. Investing that much into a dueling character, probably not a good idea, but probably looking for those dueling opportunities is maybe an area that some people, myself included, could potentially improve at the game by casting a more critical eye to.
I think it's more just if the opportunity comes up, like if there was a hard mommy versus like a Theus Priest or maybe like a chapter mage or like an Imperial Officer, it's just like, could I get more if I dueled, or could I get more if I just fight the regiment regularly? And if it says like, yeah, like the risk reward, you kind of take that calculation to effect, and you're like, yeah, if I duel at the character, they lose a, let's say, into Imperial Officer, Armor Dominion, and what is it, the Banner of Steel, and the regiment's already broken. It's like, yeah, sure, because I know you've done it to me before with the Conan Gear, where you've like charged in, broke regiment, then declared a duel, and I didn't have time to rally them because my next card wasn't them, and you killed my character. And it's like, sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet for you, bad for me.
Yeah. And that's but it's that's, I guess, what I'm trying to, the lesson that I'm taking away from this more than anything else is, like, if you're having problems with Armor of Dominion, which is a thorn in my side pretty consistently, like, duel out the character. Now it's not a problem. Now those guys are going to go down pretty decently fast.
Yeah.
So
there are reasons to duel a character, and there's times, I think there was the Lethal Demise Biomancer Force Grown Drone block of like 12 to 15, and I was playing Goblins into it. This is a battle report from I don't know how long ago, and I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of just throwing Household Knights at it to like slow it down, but every time of a sudden it kills them, and then I eventually just like stopped having House of Knights attack them. So now my opponent's trying to like kill off House of Knights with fucking Force Grown drones, but they were so terrible in Clash. My opponent wasn't making any rolls, and then it kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, why don't I just duel out the Biomancer who's like giving them all these buffs and healing them? Because if they break, they're not healing, and I keep shooting them with Merc crossbows. And then if I get the drop on them next turn, I can duel them again, and they can't refuse, or I keep breaking them and shooting them with Merc crossbows. And so that was kind of what I was doing there. But the game ended before like it hit turn 10, and I kind of got in there, and I was like, I'm gonna duel you, and they're like, I refuse, and it's like, okay, you're broken, and you're not getting your healing anymore. And then it's like 9-10, and game ended. Yeah. But I kind of figured that out later in the game because I hadn't dueled in so long. I'm like, man, there's gotta be a tool in my toolbox that I can use to deal with this, and there it was. It was just duel the character. Yeah. So I've noticed that Spire's players will take that adaptive evolution to bump up the defense of the character in like a big Force Grown drone block who's benefiting from like lethal demise or aura of death to prevent those duels or to reduce them so that they can keep that block going longer.
Yeah.
And as we know how healing works now, it'll heal the character before it heals the rest of the regiment.
Yeah, so that's another way to tie. If you have a unit that's getting healing from the character, just keep chipping at the character, and you're gonna mitigate a lot. Like I've had games where my Braves didn't get heals because she just had to heal herself up every turn, and but then she was getting more chip damage, and then it was just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, then you're now, instead of working on the character to get rid of all the bonuses, you're working on the regiment because you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Duel, you know what? Like, duels are really interesting. Like, I'm glad we talked about this and kind of opened up more about them, because there's a couple of things in here where I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I've kind of learned a little bit more about duels or clarified stuff.
Yeah, I went into it with a much more negative attitude towards it, and I assumed that this was going to be like, well, we're going to talk about how they stink for 90 minutes, and that's going to call it a night. But I guess there's more to it than that, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, you know what? There is a use for duels, but they're not the main thing of the game.
Yeah. I'm just going to mention this because by the time this episode airs, either it'll have happened or it hasn't, but I boasted or talked a bunch of shit in the PB official Discord saying that if I was going to post battle reps and play Nords, and if I did good, then I got to be the vulva of the chat room, and nobody said no, so I have to assume that that's the case. So now I have a strong motivation both to play my Nords again and post content, but more importantly, this gives me, a good opportunity to also maybe mess around with more, even if I'm not building for dueling, just like being on the lookout for those dueling opportunities and trying to maximize the value that you get from that. Another thing to mention as well, sorry, actually we'd be remiss not to touch on this, although we're looking at drawing this thing to a close at this point, because I don't know how much more we can talk about dueling without just repeating the same 5 things over and over.
We're going to start the episode all over again right now. Yeah. I'm not going to duplicate it in editing. We're just going to re-talk about it.
Perfect. That's going to get better and better.
Yeah.
With each repetition. So the thing, I didn't even realize this was a rule until many months into 2.0 because it comes up so little. But as a Wadroon, if your character duels another character and wins, and kills the character, you get Fanatic on that regiment until the end of the turn.
Where the fuck is that rule?
It's under their army rule. I'll read it off here because I know it sounds crazy. Unless I close that tab. Seems like I did. Hold on. I'm sure I can pull it back up if I did. Of course I can, because that's how the internet works.
You have a browser history?
No. Me? That's crazy.
What secrets are you hiding?
So this secret, actually, Hymns of the Brave. When a character stand in this army destroys an enemy character stand as a result of a duel action, the regiment this character stand is currently attached to gains the Fanatic special rule until the end of the round.
Shit.
It's cool, but it's not something that you like. It's a little too specific in the timing for me to want to plan around it, because you have to make sure that your character is activating first, dueling out the character, killing it, and then leaving you with a reason to have a fanatic regiment for that turn.
Yeah, that's really tight.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Like, there's one at a, like, granted, if you've just broken the unit because you killed the character, being able to pop like a tier 3 death chance for the regiment to just wipe out the regiment after, like the regiment that character was attached to that you killed,
or get evasion 3.
Yeah, or pop up your evasion.
I forget which one actually does evasion. Maybe it is death.
No, it would be Conquest 2.
Oh, okay.
It's using the bonus to evasion. So that usually will get you up to evasion 3 with a lot of units. Or evasion 2, which a lot of people say evasion 2 is really good, but I feel like evasion 2 is not that great. It's just something. But I'm a pessimist, so whatever. But anyway, yeah, in theory, like there's going to be like a 1 in 100 type of situation where Hymns of the Brave is really going to work out for you, but for the most part, it just never comes up and you don't think about it.
Yeah, I never knew that rule existed.
Yep.
Shows what I know.
Well, I mean, nobody did for a long time.
However, talking about army rules that affect dueling, just want to bring up the Nords one, Blood of the Iron Harl. We have the first paragraph, what is, infantry brutes when they're wounded and non-characters get +1 attack. However, in addition, when a character stand in the army participates in a duel action and destroys an enemy character stand, the enemy regiment the destroyed character stand was currently attached to immediately becomes broken. If the regiment was already broken, it becomes shattered. So,
yeah.
It kind of incentivized Nords to duel a little more, especially with the Super Killy Super Saiyan Conning gear. However, our baseline Conning gear will still just do that.
So what this actually, I just want to look at something here now, because if you're taking the Eagle aspect for Seize the Day, or the new version of Seize the Day, I'm just trying to find the rule here so I can make sure that this is going to work the way it does in my imagination. But of course I can't. Oh, it's because the aspects are at the back for some reason, aren't they?
So I just went to the armor builder.
So you get Seize the Day draw event for the Eagle aspect, which is the immediate activation. So if you take that along with
Watchful Eye
of the High Kings, like, couldn't you just so you would activate your Conanier, perform an out of sequence duel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either you duel and that's great, or you don't and they break, right? No, what am I thinking? I don't think you even need to Seize the Day in this case. That was, unless you need to charge in. But
so if you, maybe. So if you watchful eye, so if you Seize the Day, charge in, do some stuff, go back to the king. He prefers a free out of sequence duel action, and then his next action is to duel again. So if they refuse, they're broken, and then he kills the character, so they're shattered, and you just kill off the entire regiment.
Yeah, like it seems like with Watchful Eye of the High Kings, it makes it really easy to just double duel them and then shatter them.
Yeah, and thank goodness the conning gear is the king.
Yeah. I wonder about that, because that was something I was doing in 1.5.
I thought they changed that.
Yeah, I thought that they specifically got rid of those interactions.
Maybe it was the triple duel.
I don't know. I'm gonna look into this more. I don't think it's gonna be something that I run, but I'm interested to find the rules case that eliminates this from working the way that I imagine.
Yeah. Just shoot a message in the rules channel, see what happens.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I've got like 2 or 3 weeks to figure this out before this airs. So
yeah. And then people can complain at us, and then we can come back 2 weeks after this one came out. Or no, actually probably a month because of how we record these, and find out we found the answer and totally forgot about it to tell everybody.
Yep. Classic.
Yeah. Should we wrap this up?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's about the long and the short of it. But I think this was a good one.
Our best work yet.
Yeah. I don't know if I go that far, but it was a good one. I think it was. I think it was a topic that wound up being quite a bit more interesting than it seemed like it was going to be at first blush. So that's why I think I feel so positively about it. But it's definitely got my my little walnut-sized brain throbbing and sparking electricity into my largely empty skull. So that's always fun. So I'm gonna mess around with this and see if there's some fun dumb stuff that you can do with it.
Yeah. Next time we do one, do you want to do? I'm kind of thinking about it because when the new scenarios came out, I was very much of the line of I don't want to do scenarios right away because I want to play on all of them and form an opinion. Should we do scenarios next? From the September update so many months ago?
Yeah, we might as well.
I think that would be a good one. Okay, so with that and establishing something we will probably do soon, I'd like to thank everyone who came along and listened to this. Just hear about duels, talk about duels, find out about duels, our opinions on duels, stuff to duel. If you successfully banish your opponent into the Shadow Realm, I guess let us know how you did it, because you don't really duel that much. But
yeah. Maybe that's going to change.
Yeah, probably not going to change either. My playstyle is not going to change at all from this episode.
Mine might.
You're gonna walk home angry because you wasted 300 points. That could have been another unit of Bo chosen.
Well, so I don't think I'm going to build for duels, but I think I'm going to try to find more opportunities to leverage dueling as a mechanic. So I'm going to walk home mad for different reasons, actually.
Oh. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I think that's more the way you should duel, is to just look for opportunities and not just straight I am going to duel and then watch your opponent keep all their characters away from you and then kill your regiment either with an alpha or just blog it down and kill it with something else. And duel.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running a Conan gear, here's the other thing: is it's probably in a block of Huskarls, so if you're trying to do dueling with it, obviously there's better ways to run a Conan gear, but that's neither here nor there. Those Huskarls are they're starting to evaporate just because oxygen is touching them. So by the time enemies do, they're not long for this world. As soon as you take the wrapping off Huskarls, you're losing them. It's like isopropyl.
You glue them together and they're already melting in your hands. It's
yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, just turning into vapor and blowing away. So that's something you have to be mindful of. I don't know. I think going forward, what I'm trying to do is put the Conan gear in Bo chosen so that he can score early. But
yeah, that seems to kind of be the way. And then if anyone comes near him, he can just him
over
the head with his sword. Be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, he's a big threat on the point, so that's good.
Yeah.
Much better than putting a dueling Conan gear in a block of Huskarls where it's just it's gonna bump into the wrong thing and vanish.
Or someone's gonna get sidecharged by a bunch of horses and just watch them explode.
Yeah. Yeah. Or as I did to somebody's Nords the other day, just line break them and then brutal impact.
Jesus. So what, you got rid of Bastion, Shield, and then your third.
And then whatever defense they had left, I took.
Oh, so they were done. Every hit was a kill because they're defense 2 base. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's rough out there being a house
a house Carl.
Yeah. Yeah, so stay home.
Yeah, don't come out of your house.
Yeah, you got a house in your name. Put house in your game. Otherwise they're burning your little boat on the lake.
Jesus. All right.
On that note.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. For the end plugs, BonkTable's got a Discord. You can join that. The link is in the description below. BonkTable's got a YouTube channel. You also find that in the description below. BonkTable does battle reports and lore readings on the YouTube. And thank you for listening.
Everything he said, but from me.
Bye.